Hello everyone, welcome to our new session. In the last video, we understood what are verbs and its types. Today we are going to continue the second part of the verbs, in which we will understand various forms of verbs. If you somehow missed the previous lecture, I will give the link in the description box. You just go and check it out. Before moving further, let's recapitulate. So we understood what are verbs. Verbs are further classified into two types, lexical verbs and auxiliary verbs. Lexical verbs are further of two types, action verbs and linking verbs. Action verbs are those verbs which expresses any action. When the verb expresses a state of being, it is linking verbs. In auxiliary verbs, we understood there are two types of auxiliary verbs, modal verbs and non-modal verbs. So up to this point we are done. Now today we will cover what are transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, which are the types of action verbs. So before understanding what are transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, let's understand what does transitive means. You must have words like transport, transform, transition, etc. These all words have trans in it, and trans is basically a root word which has its own meaning. So what does trans means is to transfer. Where there is a word trans, it means that something has been transferred either from one place to another or from one form to another. In transport, what do you mean by transport? Transport is actually a vehicle which carries some material or things from one place to another. Similarly, transform or transformation, when one form of thing has been changed into another form, that is the transformation. Similarly, transition, when a thing has been changed from one state to another, that is transition. So basically, trans means transfer. So in the transitive verbs, what is being transferred? Here, transitive verbs are those verbs which transfer their action to an object. What they transfer? They transfer an action to an object. Let's understand transitive verbs. As we have discussed, transitive verbs transfer their action to an object. Let's understand this with an example. I wrote a letter. This is the same example which we have been doing since the beginning of the lecture. Okay, so we are taking the same example so that you can understand it better. I wrote a letter. In this, wrote is the verb. Okay, so it is transferring its action. What is the action? Action is writing. So what has been written? A letter. Okay, so the action of writing is transferred to the object letter. So this is basically a transitive verb. Now these transitive verbs can be used in passive voice also. How? If I change this sentence into passive, the sentence will be a letter was written by me. Now the verb is was written, and what has been written? Again a letter. Now there are two types of objects. As we have said that they transfer the action to the object. So how many types of objects are there? Two, which are direct and indirect, that we have understood in detail in a topic sentences. I will give the link of that video in the description box. You can just check it out and understand what are direct and indirect objects. Here we will have a synopsis that how you actually recognize which object is direct and which is indirect. So let's understand this. So let's have this example. His mother gave him a shirt. In this, we have to identify which is the direct object and which is indirect object. So his mother is the subject, gave is the verb. Now there are two objects. One is him, object 1, and a shirt, object 2. Now let's recognize which is direct object. To identify this, you just have to ask a question like what after the verb, what. When the answer is given in the form of what, it is the direct object, and if the answer is coming in the form of to whom, for what, then the object is indirect. Understand here? The verb is gave. Now ask the question what. What did she give? What did she give? She gave a shirt. So this shirt is the direct object, shirt. Now ask the question to whom? To him. So to him. To him is the indirect object. So like this you can recognize direct and indirect object in any sentence. Let's move to intransitive verbs. Now let's understand what are intransitive verbs. As apparent from its name, it must be the opposite of transitive verbs. If there is a transfer of action on the object, what does that mean? In transitive, there is no action transferring. Let's read. There is a verb, but no object is required. When you encounter a sentence in which there is no object, that means an intransitive verb has been used here. For example, she sings. Now, she is the subject, sing is the verb. So, here no object is there. So, this sings is intransitive verb. Sometimes you may find a sentence which is long. Then you have to identify whether there is an object or any complement or phrase is added. So here you can see I have made one more sentence. She sings beautifully. Now this beautifully is the complement. So if it is a complement, it is not an object. It has no effect on this verb. So again it is the intransitive verb. Also there will be no passive form because you cannot form any passive sentence of this. Can you form? Try it. So these were intransitive verbs. So transitive verbs are those verbs in which an action is transferred on the object, whereas in intransitive no action is transferred. Rather there is no object also. You all may have a question that whether these intransitive verbs can be used as transitive verbs. Then let's understand this. She sings. I will make a new sentence, that is she sings a song. I have just modified this sentence into this. She sings a song. Now what does she sing? She sings a song. So you got an answer for what? So this is the object. Here this verb is acting as transitive also. So you can use a same verb in transitive as well as intransitive form. So these were transitive and intransitive verbs. Now there will be an exercise for you. You can just pause the video and try it on your own, because after that we are going to solve it together. I hope you all could have solved your exercise easily. Now let's understand it. So the question was, you have to identify which kind of verb has been mentioned. Is it transitive or intransitive? If it is transitive, then we have to circle the object. So let's look at the first sentence. Let's live here peacefully. So what is the verb here? The verb is live. And there is no object mentioned, so it is an intransitive verb. The second sentence is, I waited for an hour. Now the verb here is waited. Okay, so You can't ask any question like what, to whom, for whom. So it is also an intransitive verb. Coming to next sentence, I received your email yesterday. The verb is received. Now, what has been received? Email. So this email is the object. So this sentence is transitive. Next, I am going to the market in the evening. Now verb is am going. Okay. What, to whom, for whom? No answer. So here it is an intransitive. He has changed a lot now. The verb is has changed. So there is no object in this sentence. So it will be intransitive. Next, suddenly the child woke up. The verb is woke up and there is no object. So it is also an intransitive verb. So the next question is, the loud noise scared me. The verb is scared. Ask the question, what, to whom and for whom. Here you will get an answer, to whom. To whom the noise scared? Me. So this me is the object and so this is a transitive verb. The dog barked at the beggar. Now the verb is barked and it is an intransitive sentence. Why? Because you cannot get an answer to your questions like what, to whom and for whom. Okay. Next is, the driver stopped the speeding car. Verb is stopped. What has been stopped? The speeding car. So there is an object, means it is a transitive verb. I lost my watch. Verb is lost. What I lost? I lost my watch. Just circle the watch. So my watch is the object. So it is also a transitive verb. Now let's have an exercise on recognizing direct and indirect object. Again, you can just pause the video and try it on your own. Then we will solve it together. After the previous exercise, I really believe that you all could recognize direct and indirect objects very easily. Let's solve this exercise. So, the first sentence is, she advised me to consult a doctor. Now, the verb is advised. For direct object, we will ask a question, what? Okay, so what has been advised? To consult a doctor. Okay, and to whom? The advice has been given to whom? To me. Okay, so this is the direct object and me is the indirect object. Like this, we are going to solve all these sentences. Question number 2. The teacher got her a new pencil. First, find out the verb. Got. Okay. What? A new pencil. For whom? For her. So, pencil is the direct object and her is the indirect object. Third sentence. My friend sent an email to me. Verb sent. What? An email. To whom? To me. Okay. So, we can say that an email is the direct object and me is the indirect object. He cooked a delicious meal for his friends. Now, verb cooked. What? A delicious meal. For whom? For his friends. So, this is the direct and this is the indirect object. Similarly, he bought lots of toys for his children. Verb bought. What? Lots of toys. For whom? For his children. So, lots of toys, direct object. His children, indirect object. Next sentence is, I poured him a large glass of juice. The verb is poured. What? Glass of juice. For whom? For him. So, direct object, glass of juice. Indirect object, him. Next sentence. The teacher wrote another word on the board for them. The verb is wrote, and what? Another word. For whom? For them. Next. The warden kept warm food for all the latecomers. Verb kept. What? Warm food. For whom? For the latecomers. Next. My uncle reserved a seat for me in the train. So, my uncle reserved. Verb is reserved. What? A seat. For whom? For me. Sorry. Next. He poured me some orange juice. It is the same sentence. Okay. So, the verb is poured. What? Orange juice. To whom? Me. So, this me is the indirect object. So, I hope all the concepts are clear now, that what are transitive and intransitive verbs, along with what are direct and indirect objects. Now, let's understand what are regular and irregular verbs. So, what are regular and irregular verbs? These are distinguished on the basis of their endings. When the forms of verbs are formed, like the first form, second form, third form, if they are following a regular pattern, they are regular verbs, else they are irregular verbs. Let's understand this with some examples of verbs. Here you can see I have written the forms of 6 verbs. So the first is see. See, saw, seen. The forms of go are go, went, gone. Cut, cut, cut. Put, put, put. Cook, cooked, cooked. And watch, watched, watched. Here you can see that they have different forms. Based on these verbs are divided into regular and irregular. So, all the verbs which follow this ending are regular verbs. Also, they are known as weak verbs. And all those verbs which have their different endings and they don't follow this ed rule, they all are irregular verbs. As they are weak verbs, then these are strong verbs. Now, let's understand what are infinite and finite verbs. As you can understand it by name, that finite has something to do with the number, and infinite there is nothing to do with any kind of numbers. So, we will understand this in detail. Finite verbs are those verbs which change according to the number of person, that is number of subjects or type of subjects. Here, with the type of subjects, I mean that whether they are singular or plural. So, those verbs which will change themselves according to the number and type of the subject, we will call them finite verbs. Let's understand this with an example. The example is, I sing a song, where sing is the verb. Next, she sings a song. Here the verb sing has been changed into sings because the subject is changed from I to she. Okay. Third sentence, they sing a song. Fourth, he sings a song. Now you can see that these forms of verbs are changing from sing to sings or sings from sings to sing depending upon the subject. So, these kind of verbs are finite verbs. Also, these verbs have tense markers. Now, what are tense markers? Means they change when the tense of the sentence changes. Like if I change the sentence to I sang a song, the verb again changed. So these are finite verbs. Next, infinite verbs. Infinite verbs are those verbs which does not change themselves by any change in the number of subject or the type of subject. Also, they don't have any tense marker. Let's take an example. If I say, I want to go there. Now, we will take the verb go. Okay. Let's change the sentence. He wants to go there. In this sentence, the go remains unchanged. If we further change the sentence, they want to go there. Again it is go. So, this go verb is infinite verb because it is not changing with the change of subject. Now, we said that they don't have any tense marker. If we change it into past, I wanted to go there. Again it is go. So they remain same when the tense changes. So these were finite and infinite verbs. Also there are three forms of infinite verbs, which are to plus infinitive, that means to plus verb. The second form is the present participle of verb, that is ing, and the third form is past participle, that is ed form. But they will be considered infinitive verbs when there is no auxiliary verb before them. Okay? There should be no auxiliary verb, that is helping verb before them. Let's take an example. To plus infinitive. We have done this. I want to go there. So here we have taken to plus infinitive form, to plus go. In the second sentence, seeing the weather conditions, we have decided to delay the match. Here the present participle of see with ing has been used and there is no auxiliary verb before it. Similarly, surrounded by the police, the gangsters decided to surrender. Now surrounded, the ed form, that is the past participle form. Again there is no auxiliary verb before them, so it is also an infinite verb. Let's understand this better with the exercise. Again you can just pause the video and practice it. But after that we will do it together. So let's do the exercise. First question is, the mango is very sweet to taste and the verb underlined is to taste. This is the infinitive form, to plus verb. So this is infinitive verb. Next is, she was very quick to react. Here the verb is was. So she was. Can it change by the change of subject? Yes. If I say they, then the sentence will be they were. So this is finite verb. Next, I wish to see you again. The verb is wish. Can it be changed? If I say he, so it will be he wishes. So yes, it can change. So this is a finite verb. Next, running. Running is a good exercise. Now you can see that the sentence is starting with the present participle of the verb run with ing. So it can be infinite. And also there is no auxiliary verb before it. So it is actually an infinitive verb. Similarly, driven by hunger, he was forced to steal. Now what is driven? The past participle. But now you can ask that we have done the ed form of the verb. But we have also done the regular and irregular verbs. So the past participle of irregular verbs have en ending also. So driven by hunger and there is no auxiliary verb. So it is an infinitive verb. The next sentence, He has risen from rags to riches. If I change the subject to they have risen. So the verb is changing. So this is a finite verb. She loves to collect stamps. Finite verb because you can change it to. We go for a picnic every month. She goes for a picnic every month. You can change the tense to. We went for a picnic. Okay. There then every month will be not there. So we went for a picnic. So this is the finite verb. I like to attend music concerts. He likes to attend music concerts. So it is also a finite verb. My mother seems worried. You seem worried. So you can change the verb here also. So this is also a finite verb. So that was all for the second part of the verb, in which we understood what are the different forms of verbs. Let's have a quick recap at what we have studied. We started from transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive verbs can transfer their action on the object, whereas in intransitive there is no object. Then we understood what are regular and irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are strong verbs and regular are weak verbs. Regular verbs are those which follow the same pattern when different forms are made, whereas irregular verbs have different patterns. Then we understood what are finite and infinite verbs. Those verbs which can change themselves according to the number of persons or the type of subject or according to the tense. Those are finite, and those who have nothing to do with any number or any type, those are infinite. Also, there are three forms of infinite verbs, which were to plus infinitive, that is to plus verb, present participle of verb with ing, and past participle of the verb with ed form. But there was a condition that no auxiliary verb can come before them. So that's all for this session. In the next session, we are going to cover our subject-verb agreement. So till then, bye-bye, take care.